Project 2025. It's one of the most Googled political terms right now, and it's shaping the conversation about America's future. But what happens when Congressman Eric Swalwell puts conservative firebrand Ben Shapiro on the hot seat to defend it? In this debate, we get sharp questions, sharp answers, and some revealing contradictions. Swalwell starts strong, pointing out that Project 2025 has dominated search engines and public attention. He asks Shapiro, bluntly, how much he supports it. Shapiro sidesteps, joking that Democrats treat it like Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, repeat it enough times, and suddenly their candidate comes to life. It was his way of dismissing Democratic concern as political theater.
Thank you for joining us today. I think it is important that you're here as one of the leading conservative voices in the country. And the country has, in the last couple weeks, talked a lot about and Googled Project 2025. It's one of the most Googled search terms right now. And you're not going to get any censorship from me. So I just wanted to know, from your perspective, I think it would help us understand, on just like a scale of 0 to 100%, how much do you support Project 2025?
I think, like President Trump, I haven't looked all that deeply at Project 2025, but it seems that Democrats on this committee, sort of like Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, if they say Project 2025 enough, their presidential candidate becomes alive again.
And so, well, let's just talk about pieces of it, and I guess you can tell me if you support it. You probably want less bureaucracy, right?
I do.
I want less bureaucracy. You want more efficiency?
I do.
I want more efficiency. You want taxpayer money spent wisely?
I do. Congrats on becoming a Republican.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents would be proud.
The real clash begins on immigration. Swalwell cites Project 2025's call for mass deportations, to which Shapiro clarifies, deport anyone committing crimes. Deport those draining more from the economy than they contribute, but allow workers, like farm laborers, who contribute positively. Swalwell challenges asking, how do we even measure that? Shapiro insists if the IRS can track every receipt from citizens, it can do the same for immigrants. Fact-check note. Economists have long debated this. A 2017 National Academies report found most undocumented immigrants contribute positively to the economy, though the fiscal impact varies by state. The report suggested that the first generation of immigrants may have a fiscal cost, but their descendants become net contributors.
Mass deportations, it calls for that. Do you support that part?
I support the deportation of any illegal immigrant who's in the United States who is not of benefit to the generalized American public.
So if they're picking agriculture that puts food on the tables of everyday Americans, they've never committed a crime inside the United States, they didn't come across with documents, should they be deported?
If they have not paid taxes and if their draw on the taxpayer benefits are larger than the contribution they are making to the economy, or if they're involved in criminal activity, they should be deported.
How do we measure that?
The same way that the IRS measures my income every year. It seems like if the IRS can track down every aspect of every receipt that I've ever submitted, and
So
they can do so for hundreds of millions of other Americans, they can do that for illegal immigrants as well, except for the fact that no one knows how many are in the country thanks to this administration.
So you would be cool with creating a system where they could pay those taxes if they wanted to and then stay and work and put food on our table?
It depends on how long it would take for them to pay the taxes, and they would also have to go presumably to the back of the line, although I'm not sure why I'm testifying about immigration policy at this point.
Swalwell presses further, asking, what if they pay taxes to stay? Shapiro says maybe, but only if they go to the back of the line. He avoids a firm yes, signaling the tension within conservative circles on balancing economics and enforcement. Next, abortion. Swalwell asks if Shapiro supports banning the abortion pill. Shapiro responds that it is a state-level issue, but personally, as a pro-life advocate, he opposes it entirely.
How about banning the abortion pill? That's part of Project 2025. Do you support that part?
I think that that's a state-by-state issue on a personal level.
I'm just asking you.
Sure, I'm a fully pro-life person, which means that I'm not in favor of the distribution of the abortion pill.
Now here's where it heats up. Shapiro supports traditional marriage, He says adults can have private arrangements, but doesn't think government should attach benefits to same-sex marriage. Religiously, as an Orthodox Jew, he views same-sex activity as sinful, though not sexual orientation itself. Swalwell pushes, is it a sin to be gay? Shapiro clarifies, orientation isn't, but acting on it is, a view shared by many conservative religious traditions.
The abortion pill.
Banning same-sex marriage, what about that part?
I am in favor of traditional marriage between a man and a woman, and I am perfectly fine with anyone having any sort of voluntary sexual arrangement they seek. That's a different thing from whether the government should attach benefits to that personal relationship.
But you think it's a sin to have same-sex marriage?
I mean, I'm confused. Are you asking me as a religious Jew what I think about biblically?
I'm just asking, is it a sin to be gay?
Is it a sin to be gay? I mean, how long do we have here? 2 minutes? I mean, if the basic idea is that sexual orientation is up for government regulation, I'm not in favor of the government regulating the private consenting sexual activity of adults. That is a different thing, once again, from whether the government ought to engage in actual benefits for particular sexual arrangements that adults make.
But again, just you to me, is it a sin or not?
From a religious Jewish perspective, orientation is not a sin, but activity is. That's also the same perspective of most major religions, so far as I'm aware.
The debate then pivots to economics. Shapiro supports privatization. He wants to raise the retirement age and warns that Social Security will go bankrupt if left untouched. Factually, the Social Security Administration projects its trust fund reserves will deplete by 2035 if reforms aren't made, forcing automatic benefit cuts unless action is taken.
And how about cutting Social Security? Do you support that part of 2025?
I'm not sure what Project 2025's position on Social Security is. I'm in favor of the restructuring of Social Security along the lines of privatization and lowering and increasing the retirement age, because you, as well as every other congressperson, knows Social Security is going to go bankrupt, and yet everyone seems to have an interest in lying about it for the next decade and a half until we have to take austerity measures or radically increase inflation or taxes.
And
Swalwell points to bans on books about slavery, and Shapiro pushes back hard, saying the ban is ridiculous. Instead, he says schools should decide what's age appropriate.
And bans against books about slavery. Do you support that part about?
Why would I possibly be in favor of bans about books about slavery? That would be
Good answer.
absolutely ridiculous. What I am in favor of is the idea that school libraries should be able to make decisions along the lines of what exactly is appropriate for, say, a 7th grader and whether they ought to be treated to cartoons and genderqueer. That's not quite the same thing.
Swalwell ends by pulling up Shapiro's past remarks, where he called homosexual activity a sin, but admitted resisting personal temptation in his own life. It's a final attempt to expose contradictions between Shapiro's personal faith, political stances, and what government should regulate.
And just because we found some receipts, you did say, I think homosexual activity is a sin.
Yes, I'm a religious
I'm
Jew,
sure
that's true.
there's a genetic component.
You found me
to
out.
Orientation, but the view of all religious people I know has always been that sexual behavior is something that is up to you. And you said, I may have a desire to sleep with many women, but I do not.
I agree with me. Yes, that's true.
Congratulations on your, I'm sure it's very hard to restrain yourself.
This debate reveals the fault lines around Project 2025. Conservatives frame it as efficiency, tradition, and order. Progressives see it as rolling back rights, benefits, and freedoms. Shapiro sticks to principle, but avoids direct endorsement of the project, showing its controversial nature, even among conservatives. Swalwell, meanwhile, uses sharp, simple questions to highlight what's at stake. Immigration policy, reproductive rights, LGBTQ freedoms, Social Security, and education.